It is not demanded, but like or dislike the video. A man named Finch is seen in a terrible storm at the start of the film. At that time, he had worn the UV suit. The robot is telling him that UV radiations are at extreme levels. After this, Finch moves into a store. And there was also his robot named Dewey with him. Finch notices that there were many dead bodies in that store. Later, his robot begins to pick the things from there. Finch also discovers the dog's food there, which he takes. After this, Finch moves away, sitting in his van. The site of whole city is shown here where everything had been destroyed. And the condition of that place was worst, because temperature had increased because of destruction of ozone layer before a time. And the people could not move outside, because of UV layer. Due to this, all people had met their end except a few ones. After this, Finch observes a map, where he comes to know that he has taken meal from everywhere. In spite of this, he moves forward to search for the edible things. At the same time, he observes the approaching storm ahead. Moving to another way, he begins to leave the city. But that storm is after him. When Finch stops his car at a place, then storm breaks out there. Then Finch and its robot Dewey move forward somehow. Afterwards, Finch takes Dewey into a room, where he cleans himself and that robot. It is known here that Finch is sick severely, because he suffers from the tuberculosis. It is also known here that the building where they are present, it is made as a house by Finch. After this, Finch meets his dog. It is seen here that they had great affections for each other. Meanwhile, Dewey comes, taking those things, which had been taken from the store by them. Finch makes his dog feed, which he had taken from the store. After it, when Finch looks at his meal, then he comes to know that he has little food left for eating. Finch puts many books into a machine after taking, where that device itself extract the information from that book after scanning. It is observed here that Finch is actually manufacturing a robot. After it, Finch is reading a book at night. Then he knows that radiations have reached at the extreme level. Finch is very grieved, seeing his dog. What will it face after my death? Later, Finch is seen working in his laboratory, and he had also programmed all information of radiations in the robot. After this, when he is manufacturing the robot, then he comes to know that he need cameras. Then he fixes the camera into that new robot, removing them from Dewey. The data starts to shift in it as he turns on the robot. Finch wants to communicate this robot. Then robot also begins to move itself. Finch checks his manufactured robot here. Then he is extremely happy. He tells his dog, "You are going to get your new buddy." Further, Finch works on that robot and he makes him know how to speak, so that robot starts to communicate gradually. Then Finch feels a great happiness, noticing it speaking. Later, Finch asks it, "Tell me something about you?" Robot tells on it, "Robots do not harm the human beings. They rather take care of the human beings." It is noticed here that Finch's dog had not liked this robot. Then that robot tells Finch, "I have been designed as such, that I make care of the human beings and the animals." Finch says to it, "My dog is very valuable for me. You have to take care of it." After this, lights are switched off at that place. Then Finch moves upside to check the deformity and he repairs a cable. Due to this, light is restored there, and robot is also awakened. At the same time, Finch observes that storm is approaching outside. It was the cause that the lights had turned off. After it, when Finch comes to the robot, then robot tells him that a terrible storm is going to break out, and that storm will approach us within 24 hours, and we will not be able to save from it, because it is going to continue here for 40 days. Hearing it, Finch understands that they will have to leave this place. Finch thinks after taking the meal what he has to do further. It means where he has to go further, but his task was still incomplete here, because he has to manufacture the whole body of the robot. After this, he thinks to move to San Francisco. At the same time, Finch's mouth bleeds. As a result, he is saddened. After this, Finch also manufactures the body of that robot. That robot is looking at its hands. Finch teaches that robot how to walk. Finch asks that robot to come after him as it starts walking. At first sight, that robot begins to walk perfectly. Consequently, Finch is extremely excited. When Finch's dog barks, then that robot falls down. Later, Finch begins to pack the luggage to leave that place, and the robot is practicing of walking and running on the upper floor. Finch asks Dewey to accompany after packing the entire luggage. But Dewey has no cameras, so it is unable to view. So it was hitting the things. After this, Finch takes a camera from a CCTV camera, and he fixes it in Dewey. After this, they are going to leave that place by a bus. And a new robot here is learning new things here. It is known here that their bus is safe from UV radiations. Afterwards, they begin to move to San Francisco, leaving that place where everything had been destroyed. After it, they move forward. New humanoid robot had information about everything, so it is guiding them. After this, they stop in a city. And a new robot here notices Finch's postcard. And it says to Finch, "I have liked you postcard too much." Then Finch tells that people were habitual to use the postcard to communicate in former times. Then that robot asks, "Who had sent you this postcard?" Finch tells on it, "It had been sent to me by my uncle." After this, Finch asks robot to come with him. Then they both move outside. Then he tells all rules and regulations to robot, where he had to search food for his dog and also make it feed. Afterward, they notice a cinema hall. Then Finch asks it to unlock the door of cinema hall. Then that robot easily unlocks that door. Going inside, Finch asks it to search for food. At the first time, that robot looks at it. Finch gets some of the food from there. So they both come outside. He adds some popcorn on an iron object. Those popcorn are cooked because of the high temperature. So they both get much excited. After this, they observe the approaching storm there. So they move out of that place. But that storm was approaching to them. Finch understands it that they will not be able to avoid this storm. So he comes outside, wearing his UV suit. He begins to adjust the nails to make the bus fixed. And he also asks the robot to do as such. 3 nails are fixed here by Finch, while 1 is fixed by robot. After it, Finch quickly move into the bus. Now the storm is approaching there. After this, robot also enters the bus. They catch the objects of the bus with the approaching storm. Now their bus is surrounded by that storm, so it begins to float in the air. Due to this, 3 nails are unfixed, but it was still stuck there. The bus comes to its place as the storm stops. They all are safe and sound and get no harm. After this, Finch and that robot come outside. Then Finch observes that all nails had been removed, but that nail has not removed fixed by that robot. So he appreciates that robot. Now a tire has damaged here. When that robot comes to set the tire, then they know that they have no jack to change the tire. Finch tells it to the robot that we cannot fix the tire without the jack. It is seen here that robot lifts that bus. Then it asks Finch to fix the tire. Finch fixes the tire here. Finch says to the robot while praising it that you may be good, Jack. Finch suggests that robot have the name Jack. That robot says, "No, I want to have a name William Shakespeare." Finch says, "No, it is a long name." Later, they select that robot name Jeff. Next day, Finch falls asleep going inside while adjusting the solar system on the bus. Then that dog begins to bark and new robot Jeff starts speaking. So Finch wakes up. Then new robot Jeff tells him that I was learning the language of the dogs. It says, "I think that your dog dislikes me." Finch says that there will be needed a time to settle both of you as friends. After this, they both leave that place. At this time, Jeff sits with Finch at the front seat. After this, they both begin to move to the Golden Bridge. Jeff asks Finch here, "What is trust?" Finch remains unable to explain to him. Finch tells his own story. He tells that I used to work with some of the people a few years ago, but they all were senseless. And we all were working on a project. And all were believing it except Finch that software problem is not going to be solved. But Finch resolved the issue of that software. Due to this, his head compliments him. Finch tells, "Indeed, I had performed that task alone, but I told to my head that we have mutually performed this task not alone. In this way, I won the trust of everyone." It is the meaning of the trust. In the same way, our trust is built on others. But it is also ununderstandable for Jeff. Then Finch says, "Okay, I will tell you after deliberation." After this, they stop near a restaurant while coming, where Finch comes outside after leaving his dog to Jeff. Finch vomits of blood when he enters the restaurant. His condition was also worsening, so he was very sad. Finch comes to take his dog as he hears the barking sound of his dog from outside. But Finch asks Jeff to get in the bus. Jeff wanted to drive the bus here. Finch and his dog are communicating with each other in the restaurant, in which He is training his dog to sit and stand, while Jeff is practicing of driving. Outside, Finch runs outside when he observes it. At the same time, Jeff hits that bus with a vehicle. Because there was the sunlight, so Finch was unable to move at that place. After this, Finch calls Jeff and asks, "Were you driving?" Jeff says after being nervous, "No, I was driving." Afterwards, Jeff reverses the bus, getting in. Jeff again hits the bus when Finch shouts to stop it. After this, Finch comes outside and begins to burn his hand while spreading under the sunlight. Now he tells Jeff, "My dog and I cannot come in the sunlight. We will be burned if we appear there." Finch shows his anger on Jeff here, saying, "I had only assigned a task to you, which was to take care the bus, and you did not perform it nicely." Finch shows his aggression on it. As a result, Jeff feels ill. Afterwards, they move ahead, sitting in a bus. Then Finch allows Jeff to drive the bus. At the first sight, Jeff begins to drive perfectly. Finch is very excited because of this act. After it, Finch asks Jeff to drive the car with the speed of 50 miles per hour. Then Jeff does the same and they move ahead. Then they stop at a place at night where the sky seemed to them beautiful. Finch tells it, things have altered after the disappearance of the ozone layer. It often happens that sky seems beautiful like this. Jeff asks him here, if there is a danger at night, why can we not travel in daytime? Finch tells on it, there is cause of this. There is danger on the way, and this danger is from the human beings. We may protect ourselves from UV radiations at night, but we still have the danger of human beings. And we should not trust in any human being? Finch coughs here, so he goes for sleeping. Jeff says on it, I will stay outside. Next day, Jeff hears a sound, so he moves into the bus. It observes here that Finch is vomiting blood here, and he is also very sick. Jeff asks him here, what should I do to help you? Then Finch asks him to call the doctor. Afterwards, Jeff checks his knowledge gained by the books. Then it places the wet cloth on the head of Finch according to this knowledge. It takes care of Finch too much. Finch's dog was also observing it as doing so. Now Finch's condition gradually starts to restore. After this, Jeff reaches a mall while driving the bus. It notices that Finch is sleeping, so it takes the previous humanoid robot out, and it goes outside to take the meal along with it. Afterwards, they begin to gather the commodities, going into a mall. On the other side, Finch woke up in the bus. He is scared when he sees outside, where Jeff was collecting the commodities. Finch comes into the mall while wearing the UV suit. Dewey sees a pack of food. It falls down as it goes to pick it up, and it is damaged after being caught in an object. Hearing its sound, Finch approaches there. It sees that Dewey has damaged, so Finch turns it off. Later, Finch hears a sound at a place, so he goes to that place for checking, where he finds Jeff there. It tells that I am collecting the commodities. Then Finch advises it that we cannot stay at any spot to collect the things, and this place is not out of danger. So they both move away. Getting in the bus, they notice here that a car is following them. So Finch comes to the urban area, leaving that place. After it, Finch asks Jeff to drive the bus, and he also says it, we may be killed because of our mistake. Afterwards, Finch takes his gun out. They are moving forward. Now they continue their traveling till night, but that car was still chasing them. Then Finch asks Jeff to drive the car with full speed. So they come at a great distance from the car. Going ahead, they observe bypass. Then Finch drives the bus from up to down. Then they begin to move under the bridge. Jeff says to Finch that we cannot move below side of the bridge, but Finch does not hear its single word. Afterwards, they stop the car at the same place. Finch is very feared here. Meantime, Jeff gets off the bus, and it pushes the bus and brings it the below side of the bridge. They had actually come here with the aim to hide themselves here. Then another car also arrives there, and Finch is perfectly ready to kill that man, holding his gun. He feels contentment when he hears the departing car sound. Finch finds the damaged solar system when he come outside. Then, Finch says to Jeff, seeing it, I cannot repair it now, nor we may go to San Francisco. Then Jeff says to him while consoling, don't worry, I will carry it out. Then Finch says to it after being aggressive, you are a machine. You don't understand anything. Nor you can. After it, he also shows his rage on Jeff and gets in the bus. But Jeff is wetting in rain out of the bus. Jeff says to Finch, getting in the bus, we can move to the Golden Bridge. Finch again tells it one more story here, in which the ozone layer had started to reduce before some time. The people think at the beginning that everything will be alright. So they started to dwell in house in a hidden way, but there were also such people among them who knew that nothing is going to happen positive. So they were collecting the things wisely. I was also among them. Finch tells, when I was collecting the commodities from a supermarket, I discover a little girl there who is along with her mother. That girl's mother has handed her over a gun, and she has advised her, shoot that person whom you witness. Then I understood that they will kill me if I go for their help. So I continued to hide myself there. After this, a man came to me. He had a gun and he fired his gun many times. It was too late before I may take any action, because that little girl and her mother had met their end. When I went there, then that little girl's bag was moving. I got this dog after checking that, and we are with each other from that time. He tells, I could take care of that little girl and her mother, but I am still taking care of their dog after their death. So it was the cause that I had manufactured you so that you may take care of my dog after me. Next day, they set off their journey where Finch is very sick, so he is taking rest. Jeff was taking them to San Francisco, where he notices Finch's postcard, and there was stated Dad behind it. There was written nothing when he checks the remaining cards. After it, a butterfly crashes with their bus. Seeing it, Jeff stops the bus, because that butterfly was surviving in the sunlight. Then he calls Finch there to show it. Afterwards, when Finch takes his hand out in the sunlight, then he gets no harm. In fact, ozone layer had been restored. Due to this, UV radiation's effect had also over. After this, Finch comes outside and Jeff is very excited here. Finch glimpses the sun and senses its rays. After this, Jeff and his dog also come outside. Finch is viewing that place excitedly, coming outside. At the same time, he observes a butterfly which sits on his hand while flying. Afterwards, they step forward. Finch comes outside after wearing a perfect dress. Finch says here, I never ever felt it what I am feeling good today. Jeff tells Finch here that I dreamt last night. I dreamt there that we have moves to a golden bridge. Finch is left astonished, thinking how can the robots dream? But he feels good on this and apologizes Jeff. I apologize that I had called you robot or machine. Jeff says to Finch here, you had told me that those postcards had been given to you by your uncle. But there is stated, Dad. Then Finch tells it the whole truthful story. My father left me before my birth. And my father was actually an engineer, and that card was gifted me on my birthday by my father. Actually, my father had invited me to meet him. I had purchased this suit to meet him, but I could not put on this suit. Then Jeff asks him about other cards. Finch tells it that I kept them because I had liked. Because I wanted to wander the world, but I never visited somewhere else except my city. Finch also tells here that it is a good experience of humans to feel good, standing on the Golden Bridge. Then Jeff says to him, we will surely visit there. Finch says on it, that I cannot go because I am going to die. Jeff is dejected after hearing it. Finch says to it, give your words that you will take care of my dog after my death. Jeff says on it, sure, I will take care of it. After this, Finch asks Jeff to play with his dog, but that dog was playing with Finch, not with Jeff. It was giving the ball to Finch again and again. Seeing it, Jeff understands that dog does not like it. Finch says, don't worry, it will be adjusted with you gradually. After this, Finch vomits blood again and Jeff begins to direct him to the bus. Finch and Jeff embrace each other here. After this, when Finch is traveling in the bus, then his dog is also accompanied him. They begin to play, getting in. Consequently, Jeff feels lonesome and dejected. Later, Finch falls asleep in the